Thanks for staying with us. Now, freedom means self-determination. It is what enables humanity to achieve its unlimited potential without being beset by forced diktats or imagined constraint. Freedom is not just what makes dreams come true. It makes dreaming possible. And it obliges every free person to free another. So when does freedom become a problem? Globally, there has been a lot of conversations around press freedom, freedom of to express, freedom of sexuality, freedom of identity, and a whole lot of freedoms, you know. The world is fast changing and we know it. Soon, the young generation will only know what we have termed the new normal. So my truth, you know, your truth, and whatever names there are out there. So our question therefore is, as regards human right, and this freedom of expression, you know, self-expression, sexuality, expressing yourself, freedom of speech and whatever, is there such a thing as too much freedom, right? Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Okay, so I'm going to start with Norma because I liked the fact that there was an interesting video you shared. Okay, first of all, let me put a little bit of a foundation. Right. On Monday was Coming Out Day, right, alongside Day of the International Day of the Girl Child, and of course, to everybody's dismay, because even I posted on my Instagram page how everybody was talking about this comic company DC bringing out a new character, saying that the Superman hero that we all know is now bisexual. You know, his character will now become a bisexual, so it means he swings both ways. And this caused a lot of outrage, a lot of people saying that, you guys are trying to confuse, somebody says bye-bye to Superman and all of that. But, that is just one angle, you understand? Because it now seems like everybody is coming out to express. So you see someone that was born a boy, the person comes out to say, you know what, I don't want to be, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be a boy, so I am supposed to be a girl. So I feel like I'm a girl. And again, you see there are options available to do, breast augmentation, change your genitals to the other sex, reproductive organs and all of that. Or sex organs rather. You know, so expression, right? And this freedom that we are all clamoring for. Is there any point where this expression becomes too much? This freedom becomes too much? Is there such a thing?
Wow. Like, this freedom is, I believe, is a fundamental human right. It is the right of every human being to be able to express themselves. But it's also, in my opinion, very important how you choose to express this self of yours. It is okay for me to understand that this is what you think, or this is what your opinion is about a certain matter. However, I also have a right to express my views. And when we now want to bring it towards too much freedom, I feel that too much freedom can allow you, or has the tendency to make you to infringe on other people's freedom. Because that, for example, this is not doing any or saying anything likely, but I just want to be general. For example, someone feels like, what can I quickly say? I feel these days everybody feels like something, right? So I can feel like a piece of, in fact, very quickly, I remember reading a story about a young man who felt, I've forgotten the name, but the names are so many now, but actually he believed that he was a certain type of animal. And so he disguised himself, put on, I think it was like a deer. I'm not sure which, the type of deer that has all those things like stems coming out of the head. I forget the name at this point. And he goes into the jungle. And the news had it that he was shot because some people who
Thought
were
he was-
hunting thought he was a deer. And they shot him. In fact, the news was like that so person who believed that he was this is now being rushed to the hospital. Your perception,
I'm not supposed
it's
to
not,
laugh, but-
like I said, I don't want to make it light. That I don't want to make the situation light. But now, if you want to accuse that person of shooting, but he thought it was a deer. And if it was an area where it was
A hunting-
there's free
yeah.
hunting, there's hunting zones,
Yeah.
you cannot,
Right.
he has a right to hunt,
You know
for
what?
example. So that it's just to buttress that we should be careful how much freedom we're allowed to do, but also know that for everything you choose to do, there are always consequences.
Let me come to Isi quickly.
Well, for me, basically, I agree with Norma in that context that, you know, there are norms. You know, at some point you actually infringe on someone else's right.
Where your
in the
freedom
cause.
stops, that's where my
That's
own
where my
starts.
world begins, you know. I watched, it's just as if I knew that something like this was going to pop up. I watched a video recently on a few people who actually did a sex change. And they were much younger when they actually did it. One, I think, did it when he was about a young boy, about 12, you know, and they allowed him to do that. His parents allowed him to do that because he felt he was going to do, he needed to be a
The
girl.
other sex, yeah.
Yes. So in the course of doing this, he kept on wanting more. And one thing kept on resounding in what he was talking about, which was the fact that psychologically he felt he needed to do more. And the more he did, the more dissatisfied he got. And the more he tried to sell it to others to, you know, to join him in the bandwagon. It's not about you doing it, it's about you getting more people into that space of what you were doing. And what he said that, you know, struck me was the fact that if he had known, he actually changed his sex back to a man. Yes, and he started a website on this as well. And he changed his sex back to a man, and now he's trying to encourage every individual that has gone to do some sort of sex change or felt that there was a misplaced identity in the course of him expressing himself or herself, you know, they should, you know, they can always go back.
Okay.
So in the course of also doing this, I also got to understand that it has to do a lot with our psychological balance. So how well are we balanced as individuals psychologically?
Okay, let me hear Uti's initial thoughts, because it's actually quite interesting that, you know, some people have said that, oh, I feel like I should be a certain race. I feel like I am supposed to be disabled. You know, you're an able person. I've seen people go to do all those things. But let me hear, Uti, your initial thought. Please, the phone line to call will be announced when we go on the break, when we come back from the break. This line here is strictly for WhatsApp. Somebody has been trying to call so badly. Sorry, we don't take calls on this line. Uti, go ahead, please.
So I'll start off by saying the guy in Noma's story, he achieved his objective. Because, you know, if you want to be a deer gets hunted and you get shot. So I'm sure if he died a happy death. But there are many ways to look at this. Human rights it should be a fairly straightforward thing. I think the UN, as far back as 1948, I think it was, when that historical document was released, that talks about, I think, about 30 or so different articles of what constitutes human rights that was agreed globally. What I find today is that this conversation today is not even about human rights. This is about the woke crew. Because there's so many things that we talk about today that aren't defined. And I mean, this document was done in 1948, so some people might say maybe it's a bit outdated, but there's so many things that we are discussing today that I don't believe have come from freedom of expression or human rights. I think these things have come from political correctness. We started off saying we couldn't call vertically challenged people, that's the politically correct term, we couldn't call them dwarfs or midgets. And these things, took on a life of its own. And the more the world grew, the more the world developed, the more these things and sensitivities started to come to the fore. So you may not have thought you had a problem. I remember when any signs of faith were taken out of schools in the UK, because I had naturally grown up with the Christian faith, and then somebody else who's Hindu says, well, me seeing your cross on the wall every day is impacting my right to religion and expression of it. So I think that we're finding it's become a conundrum. The world has gotten smaller. Back then we were all in our little countries. Migration and all these things were not as, the proliferation of it wasn't as much, and everybody was happy doing their thing in their own place. Then when we started to mix, and we've mixed to the point now where generationally, you have people who are of a certain ethnic background biologically, but are born and raised somewhere else. So you find these people who now, third generation Americans who are Nigerians or of ethnic descent are Nigerians or Chinese, and all these things. It's a struggle within that one individual who says, my culture, my family says this is how it should be, but then I wasn't raised in that part of the world. I was raised in another part of the world, and the struggle is internal. So those kind of struggles exist. Now, if you come down to the LGBTQ side of the conversation, it's people wake up, and I've seen it at all ages. I've seen little boys, perfectly normal parents who have wanted to play with dolls, who have grown up being very effeminate. I've seen situations of kids being born with both sexual organs, some even as much as both reproductive organs. And we are learning every day. We're discovering biology every day. We're learning more things about the human body every day. And my question is, because people say, oh, like Issy's example, I did it, it wasn't for me, I went back or whatever. I was watching a video the other day about Dwayne Wade and his son, who is now his daughter. The reality of it for me is people who are born with both organs, right? Something went wrong. So if something can go wrong in the physical presentation of those organs, what's to say that something doesn't go wrong in the mental side or the chemical side, balance-wise? That so in the forming of a child, so many things can go wrong in the womb. Who's to say that something doesn't go wrong and this person, comes out feeling like I'm in the wrong body? There have been lots of well-documented cases about things like this. This, for me, is different from the 62-year-old man who wakes up and says, I feel like I identify as a 5-year-old girl.
Thank you, Uti. I was coming there.
So, I was trying to come, that's where I was trying to get to, that we need to clearly demarcate these things.
No, but you cannot demarcate. Uti, you cannot demarcate it, because once you have allowed one person to say this is how I want to express, there's no way you can draw the line.
No, hear what I'm saying. So a child is born and he's naturally effeminate, right? And this is not, there are kids who from an early age, they're presented with doll and truck and a big doll. I'm using an example. It's a different thing for someone who has lived his entire life. He got to 62 and then decides.
That was when he decided, that was when he became woke.
That it is a difference between a decision and someone who is like, this is how I have always
been. You see, that's the thing.
There's a difference. Whether you, like I said, there's a difference. If a child that you are is a boy, who is born a boy, I'm not saying the ones where the parents say we are raising it as an it, because that one is another thing right now. The gender neutral crew, there's a difference. But there are enough documented cases to say that, look, there are boys who come out of the womb that say, you know what, there are girls who are tomboys, down and out, don't want anything to do with it. Now,
go ahead. Quickly, go
so
ahead.
There's that. But in today's world, Because you have to separate it. Because we've gotten the extent to which political correctness has gotten is creating its own.
Uti, you cannot separate. That's the thing. You are still going with this separation. You cannot separate it. Once you are able to once you are able to accept.
That is my aim today. Because you see, if you argue the biological side, we can be here for donkey's years, and kids will keep being born, and people will keep coming out that way. But if we want to talk about political correctness, where we started and where we've gotten to, that's where the ridiculousness is. That's where, for me, the freedom of expression, however you want to call it, is deviating from the norm. Because there is black and white. Now, somebody tells you, I'm looking at white, and you say it's not white, it's black.
It's
that's
gray.
Different.
It's not even white, it's not black, it's gray. But Uti, see,
no, gray. At least gray is even a logical mix of black and white. I'm telling you, when you see a man that has gotten to the age of 62,
and he says
and
that
wakes up
he
and tells you
that
is his fundamental right.
Do you understand? But you see, you've already
and it's a psychological imbalance.
Right?
It's a psychological imbalance.
When I was growing up, I did a lot of things. If I am sure if they had probably handpicked me and put me in a different climb, I would probably be among the people that say I identify as a boy. Because in terms of, the way boys are, all the things you do, I don't get to say, come and help me lift something. I do everything practically by myself. I do all the masculine things. I try to, and I could have. So I even have male friends. But you see, I was not in an. So where I am coming with this conversation, where I am coming with this conversation is, right? I don't have a problem how you choose to express yourself. But you see, now it's almost looking like if you are not politically correct, you are now being stigmatized, you are now being, there's just too many things.
That's what I'm trying to say, that you need to separate political correctness. So you grew up as a tomboy, right? You didn't feel like a boy living in a girl's body. You grew up as just being able to do things physically. It's different. And that's why I'm saying that remove political correctness from people who have a biological and psychological or physiological problem. Somebody who is born with both sex organs is told to choose. Do you want to live your life with both, or do you want to choose? That's a different problem from somebody who is now taking political correctness in whichever way you want to call it to an extreme. Because if we don't, we will color the lines of this conversation. The conversation is your choices. You are feeling that you are woke, and you can say that you know what, and giving birth. How can two people, a man and a woman, give birth to a child? The child is a girl, but you say you are going to raise the child gender neutral. Now you have people referring to themselves as it's they are them. Come on now.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Let's calm down.
All right, so thanks for staying with us. If you just tuned in, it's our ladies' night out, and we're asking, how much freedom is too much? Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Our phone line is now open. Please call us on 07025007749. 07025007749. But please turn off the volume of your television set when you call so we can hear each other. All right, so I was saying before the break, Uti, that this situation, right, I do not have a problem with people saying they want to express. Where I have a problem is where the world is going now. It seems like you that choose to be, I was born with a breast and a vagina, and I want to stay a woman. I'll remain a woman and identify myself as a woman. And when I see someone that has similar features with me, I want to be able to refer to that person as a woman. Why is it a problem, for you? I mean, why are you not allowing me express that freedom, because I think it's becoming lopsided. A lot of times, it seems like...
Why do you feel that, though?
Huh?
Why do you feel that you're not being allowed to express that? What is the thing that is happening that is making you feel that way?
Because, okay, so you have seen it in different climes where people try to, it's almost like an attack situation, you understand? Especially with these people that come to say, oh, I want to now identify as a man. You are a woman, you want to now identify as a man. When you now come and say, no, but I know you as a woman, why are you all of a sudden becoming a man?
Or
and
even
all of
if
that?
you're heterosexual at the end of the day, they still do the same thing.
You know what?
But why do you feel attacked? That's my question.
Because I feel it.
What is it that has happened to you or personally that makes you feel attacked? I'm going somewhere with this. Tell me.
Okay, so first of all, I do not like the idea that every TV show right now that's raving, every movie has to have that element of, you know, what's it called? The queer and whatever it is that it, you know, the identity. I don't like that fact that it has to be there, you know, in your faces. So I get the part that
I agree with you. So I agree with you that.
So it's infringing on my own rights.
So no, hang on. I agree with you that I also don't like it. But here's the thing, right? The world is reflected by what you see in the media.
True.
Now, the reality of it is that at one point in America, Black people sat at the back of the bus. Black people could not drink from the same taps. They couldn't sit in restaurants. They had to go through a different counter. Now, try to put yourself back in that time and think of yourself as a white person and think of how you would have felt. The Black people were fighting for their rights. They wanted to be heard. They wanted to be seen. They wanted to be treated as equal, which is what the human rights speaks to. All men are born equal and all men are born free. Now, at that time, they weren't allowed on TV. If you remember the movie Hairspray, it was a big deal for them to integrate schools. It was a big deal for them to integrate TV. What were Black people fighting for at the time? They were fighting to be seen and heard. Because guess what? They were living, breathing, walking around right alongside these white people. But they had no representation in all of these places.
Yeah.
They were being kept in places. Now, like I said, think to how those white people felt then. It was an invasion, it was an attack. But guess what? Black people were all around them. Now, the same thing you have, which is why I said, don't attack the consequences. Don't attack the outcome. Go back to the root cause. Because what you're saying now is, I kept saying it, almost all the bosses I had before I returned to Nigeria were all gay. Now, I could choose to quit my job and go hungry because they are my bosses, or I could choose to be like, you do you over there, I'll do me over here, and we're all right. It's fine. So the reality of it is, what you're seeing in the media today, the way you are saying I feel attacked is the way they are also saying they feel marginalized because there's no representation of them on TV. So a little boy who is being raised by two mothers, or a little girl who is being raised by two fathers, doesn't see herself represented in the TV shows she's watching. So everybody's trying to fight their corner, which is why I said the problem is political correctness. Because everybody now has a choice. Do you see where I'm coming about the demarcation? Because we can have the emotional reaction. It's just like me. Now, my son can't watch anything that I've not sat down to balance and watch myself. I don't want surprises, right? But the truth of it is, we cannot raise these children today to be afraid of these things.
No.
They don't need to believe in it. They don't need to be, it doesn't need to be forced down their throats in terms of, now you need to be sure of what you're exposing your children to. That's parenting. But in part of that parenting is also tomorrow not to raise somebody who's bigoted. Not to raise somebody who's going to end up in my situation where his boss is gay and they cannot cope and we need to resign. And what do you do when you go to the next place and that's what you meet?
The same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Because it is increasing.
I agree.
The same way Black people increased and increased and increased in all these countries of the world where everybody now, it's not okay to be racist. Everybody now has to be okay with Black people, Indian people. It's the same thing, Uwa. That's all I'm trying to say.
But the question is still, are they okay?
You know, media has to represent all of us. Let me choose which one I watch. That's why there's Christian TV. If you do not want to watch, I don't know if you've seen these pop-ups on Facebook now. There are so many Christian versions of Netflix and co for kids. Just so that you know what you're not surprised. So everybody has a choice. It creates market for everybody, but everybody has representation. I think I've said enough. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Uti, you've said enough. But we still need to come back to what is acceptable. And we still need to look at it from the culture of each climb we've been talking about. We have the West. They're talking about it, they're doing it, and nobody is complaining about it.
But is it not hypocrisy us in Nigeria here? You think it's not happening here?
No, it is happening, all right. Already, come on, it's already happening. But the bottom line is this, that we still have our traditions and we have our culture to also, protect, which is where she was talking about the fact that where you draw that line between my freedom of speech and infringing on your own freedom. So I think that's very crucial for me. And it's all about your norm, your values, and your beliefs.
I think for me, I think it's very important that we are able to draw the line.
Yes.
Just to be sure that this is what you want. Because like I keep, I don't want to sound like, an old symbol or something, but it's important. There are a lot of people who just make decisions without critically reflecting and understanding the decisions that they're making. Some even make it out of, okay, this is the norm, or this is what is reigning, or this is the rave of the moment, things like that. But if they take time to process, they actually realize that these are decisions that they don't want to make. And like I keep saying, consequences come with choices that we make. There's a lot of confusion, and I do not blame people. I will agree with Issy in the area of culture. Sometimes some people are exposed to things that they are not used to, and they find it difficult to process, or they just say, okay, you know what, let me just, but they are really not, they're struggling inside of them, right? And different cultures, different people represent different things, and individual people can also choose to represent different things. So
I'm going to ask a question, sorry for cutting you, Norma. Do you see a future where, what Oti just said about representation, they have to see themselves, and do you see a future where what we know or what we knew growing up and all of that, we will now become a minority, will now become the ones now trying to fight for us to be represented?
Oh, I agree.
Do you understand?
I don't agree with that.
Yes.
Because there has been an evolution over time.
Wait now, I never even learned finish. Because you see, this is where I have a problem. Whenever it is that you're doing something, let us strike a balance in the sense of what balance means, right? Because now it is in the bid to fight for rights of women that every organization, they are shouting. There's a lot of money being pumped into the girl child, the boy child, the girl child, the woman, and everything. What is happening is impacting deeply on the boy child. So they will get to a stage where it will now become boy child. Because again, if there is no balance, in anything that we do, you are only creating a bigger problem.
Absolutely.
Right? So how do we move from here? Because I don't even want us to dwell on the matter.
It's not a case.
But you said with your mouth now that we need to define. When you were talking about the 65-year-old man saying that he identifies as a 2-year-old,
12-year-old,
that we need to draw the line and define it. So where is the movement?
Because political correctness has taken root, it's like saying that because racism is now, everybody accepts across board that racism is bad, that all of a sudden white people feel marginalized. That's it. It's the same thing. So the reality of it is, we will all need to find the way to all live around each other. The way white people have embraced, you still have racists, you still have KKK, you still have all those people who are dogged in their
beliefs.
Black people have come. You have it today. It doesn't mean that we black people, we've gone and eaten all the white people and we've moved on. So it's not going to be a case of you becoming, you haven't even begun to see the minorities that are coming. We don't even know the future. When the blacks and the whites were fighting, who knew we got to get to a point where a man says he's identifying as woman and Able is identifying as disabled? You don't even know how bad it is going to get yet, Uwa. If you are of the Christian faith, you see what the Bible tells you now. It's worse, it's coming. Prepare yourself. But the reality of it is, you trying to say, will we get to a point where you shall be a minority? I think it's like saying, shall we get to a day when the sun and moon will come up at the same time?
Uti, let me come in there. Now, what I was trying to say earlier is that I think that before we get to that point, for me, the point is not being the minority. The point is, what am I doing with the information that I'm getting? How am I preparing my own community? Because it has to do with everybody preparing their community. I have a community to protect. We have our rights. We have our beliefs. We have our values. And it is time for me to dedicate time and effort and teach my community what I believe is what is right for them. Mm-hmm. Because there's a time where they're going to go out and they're going to, like Uti rightly said, you are not going to run away from what every other person believes. Yeah. We're not going to come to that point where, everybody's going to have a space. Mm-hmm. At some point, we're just going to have to tolerate one another. Absolutely. But it's not a case of making me to deny my own beliefs. Yours. I still have a right to believe what I believe. Mm-hmm. You have a right to believe what you believe. I wouldn't force what I believe on you, and you should not force what you believe on me. And I will be deliberate in preparing my community and my people to share, to know, so that wherever they are represented all over the world, mm-hmm. they're able to stand for what they believe and what is right. I think that is where the focus and the effort should go into. Because we spend so much time arguing who is correct, who is not correct. My problem is not, you have made your choice, but I have a right to make my choice, and I have a right to focus on my choice. The more I focus on your choice, maybe over time I begin to believe your choice. But the more I focus on my choice, I then begin to, there's nothing that can make me to go contrary to what I believe in. And also the people that I am responsible for. Because this free right, there are going to be times you have people, like I said, becoming animals. Tomorrow, coincidentally, a few years ago, this was even before all of this became this, came to this level. So many years ago, when I found myself, I don't want to mention the name of the country, but I watched a TV production, supposedly a cartoon for children. And then the next thing I see, okay, of course, the LGBT community was represented in that cartoon. But the interesting thing for me is that the young boy who everything was spinning around, at some point he now wanted to become a black, tall basketballer. And he went to have surgery done to extend his limbs because he wasn't tall. So he had to extend his limbs and do things like that. In the process of trying to be that basketball, I think his teacher became a shark or something. So there was a lot of confusion going on. Of course, when you're a shark, there's only so much distance you can cover. You can't be a teacher anymore. You see that the consequences begin to come in. The boy didn't want to go to school, wanted to play basketball. At the end of the day, I think in trying to play basketball, he fell, he broke his knees. He went back to have surgery. He said he doesn't want to
be tall anymore.
They said, your whatever that we took from you, we've used it to do surgery for somebody else and somebody else. And at the end of the day, these people were stuck with the decisions they made. While some decisions can be turned over when you decide, okay, I don't want to be known for this. You are stuck with it for life. There's some that you are going to be stuck with for life.
Let's take some comments. Quickly. That's quite interesting.
I have a comment here. Okay.
My comment is from BC. She says, good evening. Freedom is good and acceptable as far as you don't use it to trample on another person's, and in the process of exercising it, laws are not broken, and you are civil in expressing your freedom. Thanks.
All right. So this is from Celestine Guani from Enugu. And he says, there are actions that are permissible in the Western world that are totally un-African and of course, with capital letters. And we shouldn't encourage such in Africa. LGBT rights should never be tolerated in Nigeria, as that would be polluting the morals of our young ones. So this is Celestine's perspective.
Okay, so we have like 2 minutes to go. So let me hear Isi's final thoughts. I'll come to Isi, Uti, then Noma.
I still believe that protecting your rights is important. And I believe that your psychology plays a huge role in what you take in and, accept as an individual. So believe in yourself and, don't allow somebody else's ideology, distort what you believe in. That's my take.
Uti.
Nobody can make me feel attacked. You can do you. Your choices will always be yours. Your choices don't infringe on mine in any way. As long as it hasn't been declared illegal for me to be me and my choices, then I can't feel attacked. When Isi talked about culture, the people you are raising in this culture, they are all trying to japa. They are going to go and meet that culture that you say is not the one we have here. So that leads nicely into what Noma said. The goal is have strong beliefs, but be balanced. That when you confront other beliefs and other values, you can tolerate it without it impacting you and making you feel any less than you are or attacked.
How are you, Noma? Quickly.
Well, basically,
Uti, you have a comment with you?
Basically, for me, it's everyone has a right to freedom. However, be conscious of how your freedom affects other people, right? And well, that's it. Let me put it that way.
So there's no name to this comment, but it says political correctness is fast changing people's perceptions about the word freedom. But the truth today is that advancement can refer to how far you are from source. Human rights phenomena today are seen as one-sided. Terrorists and bandits are given more freedom than the victims.
Interesting thing is when it just occurred to me that when you look at yourself, you're flat-chested, you don't have butt, you don't have hips, and you go into a doctor's office to say, you know what, I don't like how I look and I feel like I'm supposed to be, is it not, so is it not the same expression you would also allow somebody else that decides to say, I need to identify as a certain sex and all of that? So why are we differentiating it, Abby?
It's the same thing.
They're all choices.
I'm just asking questions today. I don't really have anything. It's a choice, actually.
They're all choices.
It's a choice. So people have actually decided, this is what I want to do. But it's actually,
and there's a difference between the choice and those that don't have a choice. That's what you're not accepting.
I get you. Some people don't have a choice, actually.
Yeah. Everybody has a choice.
No, some people don't.
Some people
don't.
Because of their biology.
Yeah.
All right. Uti, we'll bring back this conversation. Thank you, Uti. Thank you, Isi. Thank you, Norma. All right. So thank you again for those that sent in their messages. We don't know what happened to the phone lines today, but it's fine. Before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagrams at PlusTvAfrica. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, we're planning a giveaway. Say thank you to you for believing in the Waze brand. So do well to follow us now. Like, share, invite your family and friends to watch and follow the conversation. It's at PlusTvAfrica. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impact information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. Okie dokie. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.